Welcome to my thoughts on The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 7, Heads Up. The episode is rated TVMA, so this video there will be spoilers for the episode, as well as everything live-action Walking Dead leading up to it. Another episode I absolutely fucking loved. Right, so I think we're going to start with a reader recommendation. So if you haven't already watched the fantastic, as usual, for her Jenny Nicholson video, My Favorite Twilight Knockoff, it is well worth your time, and part of the reason that I am choosing a female leftist YouTuber rather than any other group of leftist YouTuber is in part because it is Women's History Month, which is also why I'm going to start by focusing on the female characters of the episode. So, I think I will start with Carol, who I really appreciate this thing of, she really does want to protect, but it does also mean, we can understand why Morgan did what he did or didn't what he didn't. And we can also understand her perspective and, yeah, she finds out there's someone in the cell, and, yeah, the part where she, because she has to follow to see, so she has, she can't keep Judith on her, and so she talks to hairdresser, and, it's the thing about, well, we have to, I'll take her in just a minute, but I have to put this away, lock it up immediately, and, maybe it's best if you come inside. And then Sam is there, and Carol, as usual, trying to help, shape him into an adult, pointing out maybe it's best if he came down from there. And I am more than a little worried that the words, because it's a little bit too vague for comfort, because he asks if killing makes you a monster, and she says killing is the only way to stop the monsters, or something to that effect. And I am scared that he's going to kill the wrong person now. And at the same time, I totally understand why she doesn't really like to lie to him, and this is how she views the way the world is now. And we can also completely understand that point of view. And I guess there's a little bit of Maggie stuff. I was very happy that her optimism paid off, her sense of hope. Although I guess because of the end of this episode, maybe it's, yeah, holy fucking shit. But yeah, she's standing there, she's waiting for a signal, and we find out the reason he hasn't sent the signal is because the signal gun broke, the flare gun. And let's see, I guess that is right, the relief on her face when we see the balloons. Although, of course, it is slightly tempered by the fact that they are not attached to the house of, I don't remember his name, the guy from Up. Anyway, I guess let's talk Enid as the next. She continues to really be heartbreaking, because we understand why. We get why she is, trying to get away from Alexandria, and, Jesus Christ, when she pulled a gun on Glenn. I appreciate her trigger discipline, though. Ultimately, he did get the gun away from her without having to really use serious violence, or, but yeah, that was still, and I appreciate the thing about, like, you point a gun at me and I'm the asshole. Maybe it's an Alexandrian thing, honestly. This is not the first time that sort of thing has happened, although I guess the other person who did it won't do it again. And yeah, he's trying, and she says we don't have to talk. But she does go with, ultimately, And she tried to help with water. She just see, that's the thing. If you're throwing something to someone else, make eye contact first. Just make sure they're aware that you're about to throw something. Otherwise, it's not going to go, yeah. And I think that is pretty much what I have to say about her. Deanna, it was great seeing that she does have hope for the future. She hands over the plans, and she's like, no, I know it's not for now, but just there will be time after this, And the thing about, like, why did you save Spencer? He's your son. Wrong answer. And I think she might have been looking for, because I'm a good person and it's the right thing to do. Great to see Tara protecting Spencer. I appreciate her frustration with Rick afterwards, non-verbally expressed. And I think that does pretty much right. And yeah, she finds herself looking for Denise because she is not at her post. She's dealing with the wolf in cell clothing. That doesn't work. And Rosita being a little bit hard on Eugene, but this is, a life or death situation, so it is, yeah, I don't know. I wasn't very fond of the fact, because she understands that because once again, he is coded as being on the autistic spectrum, and she seems to perceive him that way as well, because like the noise, that she made that he wasn't expecting, that's, yeah, spectrum, people on the spectrum are hypersensitive to that. And I feel like she could have just, like walked in front of him and then had the conversation instead, and certainly not been like, oh, is the noise bothering, yeah, I don't know. I do understand why. I mean, it is really, yeah, life or death, and yeah. And once again, I'm not, that doesn't make her a bad character. It's a progressive channel. We support women's rights and women's wrongs. I like that Denise, the thing about, like, so you were at the door. Want some oatmeal? You want to come in? What's troubling you? And, he can't quite bring himself to it because does she want to get involved in this? And the thing with the cheat sheet, that probably doesn't increase your faith in me, does it? And I really love the exploration of, he says he does have faith. And they discuss whether or not one has to or chooses to, and why. I really appreciate how the show explores that. I mean, in this case, it's not Christian faith specifically, but faith, it's a big part of, many people's lives. And, I feel like the show so far has done a really solid job exploring how there can be good and bad to that. And I really appreciate it. So she didn't come right out and say it, but at one point she says, whatever you're dealing with, you can tell me. Because, I mean, she's technically both the doctor and the psychiatrist. So literally, whatever is troubling you, you can talk to her. I feel like that pretty much covers the, I did appreciate Michonne still trying. She's still team, we're all a group here, even if Rick hasn't quite gotten there. And I really like that Carol, she's aware that there's someone in a cell, but she isn't really able to act on it just yet, and the thing with the key and the whole, yeah, very, very tense, because, like, she's not going to want to leave that guy alive. And, yeah. I feel like there's at least one more female character that I wanted to talk about, but I can't quite place. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe not. I did also really like when Maggie said, Judith is starting to look like Laurie, and that made me happy. I think for now I'm going to move on. So yeah, more or less scene by scene, more somewhat chronological order, as much as I can remember. And yeah, I liked how every so often we'd see there's a hole in the wall and there's some blood coming through. And at first Rick doesn't really do anything about it. He touches it and that's it. And then later, he tells the other guy, it's not really a problem. We can leave it, but just it serves as a reminder that there really is not that much, between them and all those walkers outside. I genuinely have no idea how they're gonna make it after the end of the episode with all those. Yeah. I guess that does pretty much. What was the next thing? I think that's when Rick. Yeah, you have the thing about like we need to talk. Can we talk now? And so they confront Morgan, and we get a scene that features all three of my top three, and no, I haven't decided on the exact order yet, characters in live action Walking Dead so far. And Rick is there as well. But yeah, really, really great scene because like it's one of those like I love when media has a conflict where you can understand the various points of view because like I really don't blame any of them, and I thought it was genuinely compelling that Morgan, his counter argument is, well, you spared my life. Because yeah, he tells him he was intending to, he was doing everything in his power to take out Rick then. But Rick still didn't kill him. So what makes the wolves different, And I think that might bring us to the I feel like that's around the time when the yeah, I am really worried. I think he is going to try to shoot. I mean, he's gonna try to shoot Carl. Or is he gonna try to use Carl as like a hostage to shoot Rick or something? But yeah, they did realize, because he keeps asking about ammo, and he pulls the trigger. And it's like, hey, when do I? Enough about the badge. When do I get the freaking gun? And yeah, they're like, well, in time, but for now, just this is you holding holding a gun. What does it feel like? Like a gun? And let's see the yeah, genuinely clever of him to distract from. At first, I thought that was Spencer swiping more of the food and drink, but yeah, and we see him ready the gun while walking behind Carl. So I'm genuinely worried. I mean, maybe instead he'll use the gun to take out walkers. I mean, how badly does he want to take out Carl and or Rick? And I feel like the oh, I think this is around the part in the episode where we see, so I cannot put into words how relieved I am. Glenn is still alive. Believe me, he is still alive. In this episode, at least. I can't speak for the rest. I haven't watched past this episode yet. But yeah, so that was not his guts. That was Nick. I think was his name, Nick the Dick, and Glenn manages to crawl away, not climb, and yeah, once the walkers walk, he is able to get away from there. And then we see how easy it would have been for them if they hadn't been fucking surrounded. That, you know, there was a building right there that they could have gotten into. Or was that... Is it because Enid went there after and then left the window open? Maybe. I'm not 100% sure. And I did appreciate when he, you know, talks to her about, you know, it's like, is Maggie okay? Enid, Enid, in sirs. And I think that might be when we see Spencer trying to... I genuinely, like, this fucking guy. Jesus Christ. Like, I know he means well, except for when he's stealing supplies, but yeah, fucking talk to Rick. And yeah, Rick probably would have said no, but like, what on earth made you think that that rope was going to be enough? Like, obviously, that's not, like, that... Yeah. But he does, you know, they do manage to save his life. And, you know, we understand why. Like, he is thinking, like, they have to do something drastic to survive this. And definitely, like, they, even if not for the wall coming tumbling down in this episode, like, they definitely need to do something about all those walkers out there. I think that might... Let's see, there's at least one more thing that I wanted to make sure to say. Let's see, so I talked about those scenes, and we have the... Right, I liked when that guy helped Rick reinforce that place, that part of the fence, and I don't know, I'm feeling a little bit bad for the priest because he is trying to help, you know, but yeah, Rick, not a fan of the prayer circle. I mean, maybe the priest is just trying to celebrate, you know, because it says, like, prayer circle by the solar panels. I mean, as bad as the zombie epidemic is, pandemic, I guess, at least they're not having to deal with a birdemic. And is that too loose of a free association? You know, solar panels. I don't know. And you know, people in danger. And anyway, I think that might bring us to the yeah, what was the other thing that right, I like that the cheat sheet, you know, he covers part of it, and she did remember. And I do also appreciate Rosita, like, yeah, this is something that isn't necessary. You know, they all have to be able to fight with at least something like a machete. You know, it is simply not okay for any adult in Alexandria to be helpless in the face of a walker. And I believe what she says is accurate. I'm not speaking from experience, but I've heard from people who know military shit. Yeah, I don't think I need to repeat it, but the thing she says about the difficulty with the machete, yeah. I see what they need to do is electrify that thing. That works in Dead Island. I guess the what was the other thing with the... there's at least one more thing. Let me just see if I can place it, because I have by now covered pretty much everything. I did appreciate that Rick did apologize to Tara. And then we have the thing about, like, she's like, well, we weren't, you know, wasn't really thinking about it. And let's see. Yeah, I think, does that more or less cover? Let me just real quick fast forward mentally through the episode to see if there's any other So I gotta admit, the thing with having to, hand over Judith before she's gonna check something out that might require violence did make me think of like Lady Macbeth, you know, the thing with the let's see, it's like mother's milk and snake venom, something along those lines. I guess that does, and it is also kind of Mama Bear because she is protecting Judith. And now that Carol knows, I can't help but wonder if she's going to tell Rick and Michonne. And I think that might be... I appreciated that we also at least one point saw Morgan, exercising. Is that what it's called? He was doing some of the stances. I think that's what they're called. Stances, not stanzas. And yeah, he still does need to use this to, what's it called again? Level, like soothe himself, to stop thinking in terms of violence. I guess that is just about... So there's at least one more thing that I really want to make sure to say, but what on earth was it? That was another... Right. I really love the build-up too, because throughout the episode, we are sitting there thinking, if nobody realizes that building is about to collapse, that building will collapse, and it's going to fall on the wall. And that's... I don't know if all the king's horses and men could possibly bring it back together again. And fantastic sound design on that, because part of it is just us hearing the creaking as the wood gives out, which, of course, like under those circumstances, that is bound to happen. Yeah, I think that might cover everything here. Right, I also appreciated the discussion between Glenn and Enid about, letting the world die versus fighting on. And I think that might be just about everything. Let's see. Yeah, I think that does. Yeah, I also appreciated Rick talking about, like, hey, I could have gone, while Spencer was in danger, I could have gone and gotten a car, but Spencer would have died. And yeah, it continues to be a thing, like Rick trying to impart upon... I mean, basically Rick, Michonne, Carol, and also, like, some of the ones not currently, Sirs and Madam not appearing in this episode, Daryl, Sasha, and Abraham also appreciate, but some of these other characters, they don't fully... And Carl. Some of the others don't fully appreciate, hey, you need a plan, because this could go horribly wrong. And that point made about, like, hey, the thing you did required us saving you. Like Tara ended up going through an entire clip in order to save his life. And then at the end, he realizes, I lost one of my shoes. Put me back down there. I need that thing.